All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Feliciano, and welcome to CONSERVATISH. And this is episode 74.
Okay.
Look at
All
me.
right.
I remembered. I'm so proud. And our guest today is Isaac. Yeah, you're counting in there.
Yeah, I'm counting. Yeah, I've seen them all. Just kidding.
No, you have not. I'm hoping that you haven't. Sometimes I have a guest on that I'm like, man, I hope they haven't heard that. I hope they haven't heard that episode because I remember going off on some shit, But sometimes I'm surprised by how flexible people are. Actually, I'm surprised by how understanding and how like people kind of know what I'm going towards or know what I'm going for when it's they understand the free speech angle. Like they don't want to, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know.
It takes courage to do what you do, to be able to say what's on your mind and say a bunch of controversial things. I feel like most people are afraid to say what's on their mind. A lot of times we're formulating our opinions. We're going through life. We don't know what to say. We don't know what to think. We're misinformed by so many different informations, right and left. You don't really know who to believe sometimes. There's rational points of views on both sides. So when you have someone, like yourself, who's actually being very like outgoing and saying what's on your mind, to a lot of people it's refreshing, even though they might not agree with everything you're saying. Right. So that's kind of a cool thing. That's why podcasts are becoming so big now.
Right.
So yeah.
I've actually had this. I've had this one guy, Benjo, who's listens to almost every episode and often will tell me either online or through messages that he disagrees wildly, especially with my opinions on Trump and things like that.
Yeah.
But he listens to every fucking episode. He's a fucking beat producer, a really nice dude.
Yeah.
But and then I've also had another guy actually recently just hating on a bunch of my shit. It's very impressive, actually. I didn't know that haters kind of do exist. I mean, I always assumed that people had haters because they're bad, or on the whole. But this one motherfucker really enjoys, like, he comments on every episode. He's like, it's just like, I wonder what is the psyche behind wanting to find a motherfucker, or like wanting to listen every week even though you dislike it. I wonder what that is.
I wonder if you're gonna turn him.
I don't care.
It sounds like a guy who's just like, I mean, so you're getting deep, you're getting deep inside something in his life. Like me, I don't know. Me and you are not like that guy. Clearly,
sure.
I don't know who that guy is. But for me, I'm not very affected by things that don't affect me or things I don't like. Like if something doesn't like me, I'm not affected by it.
You mean if someone doesn't like it,
something, like I'm very chill, like about, or at least I try to. Every now and then, like I have to catch myself like getting angry about something, and I'm like, okay, like, why am I giving this like my energy? Why am I giving this my time? But a lot of people don't seem to have that restraint.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, it's a skill for sure. It's a muscle we practice. But sometimes I'm surprised by, like, especially right now, I'm like I was telling you, I'm 24 plus. It's been a day and 7 hours since my last cigarette, so I quit smoking again. And so now it's real fucking easy for me to take everything personally when my back isn't. I just feel like Goldilocks, like no chairs are working, no food is the right temperature. Everything's fucking with me. But it's I'm surprised by how easily I can go to that sometimes, even though I know better. You're a musician.
Yes.
Okay, you're a drummer. No, you're a guitarist only.
I'm a singer and a guitar player.
Okay, now you've been doing it a while. I remember that video I saw of yours from like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. We redid audio. So there's about like 5 or 6 songs on YouTube. I forgot, but I'm in 2 projects. One is called Lost Tapes, which is more of like, it started as a solo project, but then my drummer / producer Mikey, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, he's he's doing a lot of like piano in the background and like drums, and we're adding a lot of crazy stuff. So Lost Tapes is kind of started out as a solo project that kind of started turning into like a story, like it's very like theatric, but it's like a soft kind of like indie rock sort of thing. I'm trying to story write and write the theme, and the other one is the Fearless Art, which is me and Mikey's main project, where we're really trying to just expand our ideas, like musically, consciously, like just have fun, like highs, lows, kind of. That one's kind of a more like chaotic project, and that's one of the songs that you saw was on YouTube, was that song that was like The video was done 4 years ago now. Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
I look a lot different than that.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, so I mean, the YouTube channel is just The Fearless Art.
Okay.
And yeah.
So one of them. So it's with the same people though. It's with the same guy.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Both of those.
So
that's interesting.
So I've been in so many different bands throughout the years, and it took a while to find people I connect with, producers that
Right.
you gel with, and things like that.
Right.
And we had a main producer, but then me and Mikey we auditioned bandmates for so long, and it didn't really go our way. So we actually recently made an executive decision to, just do it me and him, kind of 21 Pilots style. So we're very
What's 21 Pilots?
21. Oh man, 21 Pilots.
There's only like 2 people in the band, and then
it's just 2
get other
guys.
people
Yeah,
out?
21
Okay.
Pilots is it's a 2-man band. They recently won a Grammy.
And then when they go and play live, they just hire a bunch of other people that like join
it's
in.
actually just them.
Okay.
It's just a piano player and a singer and a drummer, but the cool thing is that he writes the backing tracks with like the crazy sounds. Sometimes he pulls out a ukulele and he plays live. I think currently right now they're probably the biggest band in the world. Like in terms of like there's ticket sales, like man, I remember when they were like at 1 million views, like, or barely even total, maybe all their videos, and they blew up, and their music was on the Suicide Squad soundtrack,
Right.
and everything. So yeah, man, that.
But so your goal would be like if you did do it live, you would have a backing track. You would and there's a way to do it where it keeps the balls, even though you're.
Yeah, I was still. I'm very influenced by Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, and the Gorillas. It kind of started with them, like, they're like the mastermind behind it all. So we're taking that approach now because trying a bunch of people out and their personalities.
It's hard, dude.
It's
and
very
personality schedules, the whole shebang is just a motherfucker.
Exactly. So now we've got a really cool thing going. So we kind of want to be the hard rock version of 21 Pilots meets with like. Well, we're big fans of Dance Gavin Dance. I'm not sure if you know who that is, or The Contortionist, or
no idea.
Yeah, so
I could tell, like, musically,
yeah.
I don't know if you and I would like probably listen to. Well, obviously Trent, we're both. I'm a huge
I mean, like
fucking
the
Nine Inch
bigger,
Nails fan, but
like the bigger type of, like, I'm really into like artists, and Trent Reznor is a pretty weird cat. Gorillas, weird style. Like I'm really into I'm not necessarily into like genres necessarily, but like artists in general. Like I'll like absorb.
Okay. So once you like a musician or an artist, you're willing to take whatever ride that they're wanting to take you on.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously if you take the ride and you like Trent as an example, sometimes, with the Ghosts albums, you're like, it's
there's a lot
it's,
of
instant. Yeah. Some things spark your interest and some don't, but I'm willing to take the ride, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Even when he plays live, when did I see him? At the Bill Graham a few months ago, and I was like,
oh shit, how was that?
It was fucking great.
Yeah.
But there was multiple times where like I don't know what the fuck song this is, and I'm just kind of respectfully, quietly sitting there, just okay, ready for the next song, Trent. Anytime, which is I would like to say that I have more more investment and more. Because I think it's catchy within the underground scene to like be like, no man, I just care about all of Trent stuff, or I care about all of an artist stuff. But I don't want to be shallow, but you like what you like, man. You like what you like, and some shit I'm just like, all right, next fucking song. I'm not gonna like be a dick. I'm not gonna like say boo for boo. I'm not gonna throw a fucking Coca-Cola at him, but
To be fair, I make playlists for a reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll go into and this is just a personal preference. I mean, when it comes to all these nuances of songs and albums, it's all like objective, subjective, personal, preference or whatever. But for me, I kind of just I'll give the whole album a shot, and there are very, very few albums that I actually like front to back. Mm-hmm. Like I can only name front to back where I like every single song where I won't skip one. I probably have like 3 or 4.
Do you remember one of them?
Yes.
Okay, which one?
Okay, I recently heard this album by The Contortionist. It's called Language.
Okay.
I thought I was high on acid when I...
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
What are the Contortionists like?
Holy... Like, I had dreams about, like, fucking jamming with, like, aliens in, like, outer space that, like, scream like demons and sing like angels.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I've had
Were you
dreams
high
like
at the
that.
time when
no,
you did hear? Okay.
No,
Not high.
I've just my brain just works weird.
Right.
So I have
Okay.
I have the craziest dreams, and like I remember just hearing crazy like sounds in my dreams, and then I listen to them. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Like,
Okay.
Like that album specific. They're a new band I'm kind of getting into. They've been around. Yeah, they're like very proggy, but like they're good at it, like really good at it. And
See, that's a motherfucker for me. So, like, have you ever heard of Invalids?
Invalids, no.
No, Invalids. Yeah, they're fucking incredible. I am not like I am a snob when it comes to music, but like these guys, and I've been waiting for an episode to come by so I can promote these guys. But I already asked them if I could play one or two of their songs.
Oh, sick.
So I'll insert it here.
Oh, that would be cool, man.
disturbed, you swallowed your words, hoping for another way out, but never could work up the nerve, 'cause fulfillment has a learning curve. To the world
Yeah, I really fucking like those guys. They're very strange. They're very progressive. Very
not everyone does
math
it,
rock
not
type
everyone,
of shit.
Not everyone
but
does
like
it right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude,
there are so many you could say, oh, I don't like hip hop, but there's a difference between Kodak Black and fucking MF Doom. There's a difference between Lil Yachty and Wu-Tang. Like there's a wide ass spectrum of lots of different things. And Invalids, I actually think you would like them a lot. So I might even pause this later and have you listen to it. But they're out of New Jersey,
Jersey's
and they're actually I
stuff,
saw them when I went and visited in November. I was able to see them in Long Island, and I'm looking forward to like when I move out there in September.
That's right, man. Yeah,
I'm gonna do my best to stalk them until they let me play shows with them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So how long have you been playing music?
I started playing. This coming October is going to be 12 years. So guitar, music as a whole.
Yeah.
3rd grade, but I didn't know I wanted to do it like as a career until probably like 11, 12 years ago.
Okay. Now you're pretty young though, right? You're like
I just turned 25, so
okay, yeah, it's pretty young.
Pretty young. Yeah, you can say that.
When you first here, hand me my lemon poppy seed bread.
Where is that at? Is
that one right there?
I
Yes, sir.
I thought you got the chocolate. Okay.
No, you got the chocolate. I got the.
Hell yeah.
So, when you first were interested, do you remember what you were listening to at that time, like when you were growing up? Because I tell you what, for me, it was like Green Day, Dookie.
Oh shit. Okay.
Billy Joel's Greatest Hits. But I remember when I first, I was even listening to that fucking, they've gone in a direction I don't necessarily
same.
I don't necessarily like, but
I respect it though.
Both Green Day, I kind of respect it, but both Green Day and fucking Foo Fighters, man. The Color and the Shape was the first CD I ever bought with my own money. Obviously, I didn't work for it, but I earned it somehow, so it was kind of my money. It was really my parents' money. But that was the first CD I ever got, and I was listening to fucking Monkey Wrench yesterday. It was just on some radio show, and I was like, God damn, man, Foo Fighters have some shit, dude. Like Green Day has some shit, like that old '90s. It was good times, those really good times. I don't know why, but that was when I remember thinking like, oh, I could do that. I would have a lot of fun. I remember being alone in my room, miming along to it, to Monkey Wrench or to, Hitching a Ride from Green Day's Nimrod album. Like, I remember doing that shit right around that 3rd grade, not 3rd grade, maybe 5th grade, 6th grade area, man. It was very influential to me. So what was it like? What was it when you were starting to realize, oh, I think I want to do this?
Well, I always kind of had I always thought it was just like a fun thing that I like to do. At first it started obnoxiously, right? Like in 3rd grade, I wanted to play trumpet because I thought it was just the most obnoxious sound, and I was just like,
it kind of is. It's not as bad as violin. When you have to start violin, that's the fucking worst.
Yeah, so it started with that. I did that. It was funny because it's kind of sad that they cut like music in like. They've been cutting music programs for like schools and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So when I was in 3rd grade, I was I was able to play the trumpet. Now, when I was in 4th grade, they cut that from all the 3rd graders in the school.
Okay.
And then when I was in 5th grade, they cut 4th graders from being able to play instruments. I'm like, damn, does this have something to do with me?
Right. Did you suck that bad? Right.
Did I were we that?
Who was a trumpet influence for you?
Honestly, my mom.
Oh really?
She played the trumpet.
Awesome.
And but I don't know, I just thought instrument, sound, noise, cool. I didn't really know I didn't have any influence or anything. I just heard music around the house.
I would assume it would be like Real Big Fish or some like ska or something like that.
At that time, you know what? Music wasn't really something I listened to, and then I got into middle school.
Okay.
Middle school, I thought drums were cool.
Oh yeah.
So then I was in drumline. I tried being the best in drumline, and then by the time I got to 8th grade, I saw someone play the guitar. And that's when my mind just like completely exploded. I saw my music teacher put on Eric Johnson. Like he was like shredding like clips of Dover and
Okay.
you know, and then I was that was the first time I ever saw someone go crazy on the guitar, you know.
Which
before
one's Eric
Hendrix.
Johnson?
Eric Johnson, there's a Guitar Hero song called Clips of Dover.
Okay.
That was like the first thing I saw, and then right around that time I started hearing like Green Day and Linkin Park.
Right.
And then I had this I started kind of then my mind started like moving like musically. I started thinking like, whoa, like these guys are doing what they like to do as a career. Whoa, that's really cool. And then you know, I remember being in the car with my dad at one time, and at that time I didn't really see him too often, and he picks me up, and we're just talking, and he's asking me what type of music I like. When I was like 3rd grade, I listened to a lot of hip hop. Yeah, I forgot about that. Just hip hop and like,
Right.
you know, like believe it or not, gangster rap and all that stuff. I'm
I like the way you tentatively said it. Gangster rap. You can say gangster. It's all right. It's all right.
you know,
I'm non-white. Ish,
you know, I'm actually Mexican. You probably don't know that. I'm 100% Mexican, actually. So like my head was shaved completely bald.
So why did you?
Yeah, well, because I don't look it now.
Gangster.
People give me so much crap for it now. So
really? Do people?
Yeah, because I don't look Mexican, so people are always giving me crap about it.
You're on the right podcast, goddammit.
Yeah.
People don't know what the hell I am. People are like, is he Asian? Is he white? Is he white? Like.
So yeah, dude, my head was shaved my entire life. You know.
Did you ever go for the like? The
I can't grow facial hair.
Conquistador,
So
no.
Yeah. So like what ended up sparking it was I was with my dad. He asked me what kind of music I like. I told him,
right.
And you know, him trying to guide me in a better direction as a parent, he was just like, well, you know, rap is like garbage or whatever. And I was just like, really? Okay. Like what's real music then, you know?
Right.
And then he and this is the moment.
Perfect teenager stuff.
Exactly. This is the moment that changed my life, like forever. He turns on the radio, and the first thing that came on was Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Okay.
And that song just hit me as a kid, and then from then on, it was just the only thing I listened to was Green Day.
Okay.
And then I was like, I want to be Billy Joe Armstrong. Like I want to be like that. And you know, I came from a very small town called McFarland, by Bakersfield.
California.
By Bakersfield area, and so yeah, that's what I knew that. Deep down at the time I was wrestling. I've wrestled since I was 7 years old too, so I thought I was going to be a wrestler.
Right.
I thought I was going to be like college wrestling. I was going to try to win like NCAA championships was like my goal.
See,
like
you did a bunch. It sounds like you did a bunch of like pro girl stuff. Like meaning like you did stuff that wasn't, you know, like for me, I didn't do the cool guy shit. I went to like, I'm going to steal from 7-Eleven and smoke cigarettes and drink behind the fucking lake. You know what I mean? Like I went in that direction. I didn't go like the spelling bee direction. You went to like wrestling and guitar playing. That's girl territory, man. Well done. You know, did you have, when you were growing up, did you have like good experiences with females? Because of that, you feel? Or do you not know the difference? Because as a loser, I can tell you.
That's a good question. I don't know how to word that without sounding like a complete douche or fucking nerd or something.
No, you can do both.
Yeah, I can do both. I mean, I'm a nerd at heart, I guess. But, you know, I don't know. Like
it didn't hurt.
It didn't hurt. Yeah, I mean, I was still very shy. Growing up, I was very shy. I was very timid. Mm-hmm. I was afraid to say, you know, what was on my mind. You know, it took me a while to like come out of my shell. So, you know, but for the most part, you know, I was always trying to make people laugh. I was always like a class clown. I was always, you know, trying to like make people laugh, and then I ended up liking music. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I had a girlfriend for a huge part of the time.
Okay.
When I was like in 8th grade, and then after that, it was kind of just, you know, high school parties and stuff like that, but nothing like crazy. I mean, you know, when you're in high school, like how crazy can things get?
I know,
right?
really.
So, but after that, you know, there were some fun times. I'm enjoying the single life now for sure.
That's good for you, sir. Good for you.
It's definitely something now that it's just like, you know, when you get older and you know you can go to shows, and then you could eventually put on shows and just like have, you know, more fun and things like that. Then just I don't know. I hated as productive as it seemed I was as a kid, I hated feeling like I didn't control my life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So as an adult, like the whole world is just, I feel like, you know, like, you know, you have a podcast, you know, it's going really well. And, you know, if it gets on that Joe Rogan level or like some level, like you can use your creative outlets to get, you know, cool things. And, you know, that's really cool. You know,
right.
I'm still following that, the way Billy Joe Armstrong and, you know, Green Day kind of did their thing, but in my own way. So,
right. I think it's an extension of ourselves. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
At 32, I'm better at being myself than I was at 30 or at 28 or at 25. And I'm sure even now you're better at being yourself than you were at 23 or 21 or whatever. And the older I got, the more I realized, you know, it wasn't necessarily the structure that my parents had given me. It was the structure that I give myself that holds me back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the fear that I'm not going to be good, or I'm not going to make it, or I'm, you know, as far as this move to New York, it's like, oh, what if I go out there and I just suck ass? You know what I mean? Like, what if I go for it and it turns out that I'm a failure either musically or podcastually or, you know, or performance, or like what if the album flops? You know, I've spent thousands of GoFundMe money as well as thousands of my own money to you know, I've spent hours upon, it's been a year and a half. I mean, the oldest song that I have in this album is from 2011.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Like, I have put my ass and my soul and my balls into this, and what if it just does nothing? You know what I mean? So it's easier to kind of like just do nothing. You know, it's easier to just like, fuck it, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, when's your album coming out?
August.
Oh, wow. Hopefully my album will be out by then too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's your album like?
It's I can relate to what you were saying about yours. Like, for me, my first album represents like literally my whole life of just cultivated experiences. You know, there's a lot of like songs that are like about like the party days and kind of just like partying, and then like there's a lot of like introspection songs. There's a lot of songs that are dark but are masked in metaphors. It's a whole story, you know. And the album is called Soothing Tides. That's going to be the name of the album. Now, I'm really big on like dreams. I'm very fascinated by dreams. I have the craziest dreams. They're just crazy. I don't even know. Sometimes I wake up and I've watched like 30 movies in my head, and it's like, they're like, my dreams are so vivid. Like, as a kid, when I was just like going through some stuff or like really, really stressed out, what I would do is I would just go to sleep for long periods of time, or like, and in the dream, it felt so real. Sometimes I wouldn't know if this was a dream, and like my dreams were reality because of how vivid they were. So I've always kind of had that. Okay. You know what I mean? So
have you ever so is this maybe, has some of the songs on this, or the artistic direction, has it taken literally from dreams?
Some, yeah.
Interesting.
Some.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, you know, Tides, like Soothing Tides, you know, that's the name of the album, but in the album there's a lot of turbulence as well. There's a lot of tidal waves references and trying to smooth them out. And, you know, for me, like, waves represent, you know, my emotional state in my dreams. Like, you know, I like to try to, when I'm having a dream, I like to try to pay attention to what I'm seeing. And usually if I see water and I'm seeing tidal waves and things like that, usually means I'm going through some type of emotional turmoil. So I'll try to figure that out a little bit.
So you're really connected to your dreams.
Yes.
I can't remember shit from when I dreamed.
I am the complete opposite.
Nice. Have you always been that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always been that way.
Have you ever like gotten up and like journaled them, or?
I have some of them, but sometimes, you know, they're very intense. Some I want to forget. Some are very terrifying.
Wow.
You know?
Okay. Interesting.
So every time I'll have moments, like huge chunks where I'm just writing down a bunch of crazy dreams, and then I end up learning a lot about myself. Then I'm able to correct things in my life. You know, kind of discover a little bit more about myself.
Mm-hmm. So do you subscribe to the idea? I mean, maybe it makes sense, at least for you. Maybe not. You're not. Maybe not subscribed to that idea to that it's a blanket applicably to everybody. But for you, you feel like it isn't just a random thing.
No,
it really is connected to your
I've
outside life.
developed a whole belief system on it that's constantly expanding. I mean, there's little things that I test out here and there to see if it's like true. Like, you know, but at the same time, it's very complicated, right?
Right.
Like, you know, like.
So it's not always like, oh, I fell in water in this dream. That means I need to lose 10 pounds, or like, you know, it's not like necessarily.
No, it's a lot. But then I'll look stuff up about people say, and then sometimes they'll say something that kind of resonates, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that there could be some truth to that. Sometimes it's a lot of like hippy dippy stuff though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not trying to get all like too weird on you, but you know, sometimes it's just like I wonder if I'm just trying to make myself crack up. Like, like you know,
you mean lose it?
You just like laugh, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like
right.
I'll like get done working out, and I'm like, let's take a little nap, and I'll have this entire dream that I raised these puppies.
Okay.
That ended up, I just leave them alone for a while, and then I come and walk in the room, and these puppies are talking, and of course, because you know it's a dream, and then they're like doing a rap. They're filming a rap video of themselves, you know, and I'm just,
you have a it's very interesting.
and then so yeah, I was proud, you know. Like,
I don't have that experience with dreams or puppies at all. Like I don't have that. It's very interesting. Like
I don't know what it is, man.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
Is your family like that?
No.
Okay. All right.
No,
So you don't necessarily like know like, oh, this is what this means, or this is tied into family shit, or
I can
I
can surmise, or I can speculate. You know, the waves usually are that's like the most concrete thing that I believe.
Okay.
You know, like soothing tides. Like in order to like when I had this crazy dream where like because you know my job, I'm a server, wear like a tie and a shirt or whatever, and I did work at I did work on the ocean, like at this restaurant at one point in time, and I was going through a bunch of emotional turmoil, and I knew it, but I was trying to figure out how to face it, and so I had this really profound experience where I was on the beach, you know, in my work stuff, and I did not know this was a dream. It was just real as I'm here talking to you, right? And so as I'm on the beach, there's like tsunami warnings, but I'm going through so much, and I'm so depressed and going through so much things, I don't care. And I see everyone running off the beach, and I just don't even care if I die.
Right.
And like I genuinely feel that.
Right.
You know, and I see this like these waves are starting to come, or the tide's going, you know, and the huge waves coming, and I'm just like, I'm just so tired of feeling afraid my life. You know, I'm so tired of, you know, not saying what I think or believe, or just so afraid of my own emotions that I'm just like, you know what, fuck it.
Right.
I'm just gonna go straight into this wave, and I thought this was real.
Right.
And that was the beauty of this dream, was I thought this is real, and I'm walking straight toward this wave, and it's going to kill me, and I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
I was just tired, you know.
Right.
So then this wave is about to kill me, and before it does, these stairs, like it stops, and then these stairs form, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, okay, this is like a dream now or something, right?
So did you consciously realize, oh, this is a dream?
Well, once that happened, I was just like, oh, this is...
You are so much more conscious in your dreams than I am. I don't even...
Well,
I remember spaghetti flakes and rhino. That's all I remember.
It's a skill. You can practice.
Okay.
You know?
You can practice. How do you practice in your dreams,
I believe
though? I don't know if I'm...
There's triggers. You know, for me, it's waves. When I see waves, I pay attention to them.
See.
Exactly.
All right. That's
so there's a lot of things that you just tell yourself, but if you have a premeditated thought, that'll influence whatever your dream's going to be.
Okay.
So if you know, I always think waves, like what they represent for me and my relation to water, and I think it sounds abstract, but this is my process, right? And you know, I have that thought, and then before you know it, things present themselves, and then I recognize them, and I'm like, oh. I'm recognizing this in the situation, you know, recognizing your surroundings and realizing, oh, this is not okay. This is new, you know. So then I see these stairs form, and then I'm like, okay, well, I walk up these stairs that are shaped like waves. I'm in my tie and stuff, and I walk up, and then this like door just like presents itself, and it's like starts opening, and beyond it is this like white light.
Okay.
And then I'm just like, what is this? You know, and then I go in and I feel this like, you know, euphoria, and it just feels like I've overcome so much weight that I was holding on to, and then I wake up and all of the pain I was feeling was just gone.
Okay.
And I felt, you know, so yeah, man, they're really bizarre. That's like a pretty simple one, but
right,
you know,
interesting.
Like so the state of water usually represents the state of my emotions, right? So if you're on the ocean and you're on a boat and the water's super calm, that usually represents your emotions are under control. Usually that's been my experience. So there's the things that there's water, there's like common dreams, like then I would look stuff up that's usually pretty accurate. Like, some of it's weird, but some of it's like, okay, I can kind of get where you're coming from. Like just doing a little research on stuff, because there are common things like, your teeth falling out. Everyone has that dream, but it means something. And then there's flying.
Right.
Everyone's had some type of dream where they're flying.
Sure.
And apparently that's the most positive dream you can have, I think. And usually what that represents is you have, in that moment, you're feeling complete control of your psyche and you're just exploring your mind. I don't know. That's usually what flying means. Okay. And then I would pay it, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I think about that definition of that, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I get that, but maybe. And then I'll try to have that experience, right?
You'll try to conjure the dream that you want.
I'll try, but it doesn't. You gotta keep trying.
Right. I always feel like when it's a fight one, I feel that same way. I do remember those.
You're
where I'm like
slow motion.
Yeah, I can't punch for shit.
Your hands are like pillows.
Yeah. I actually had this happen twice in my life where I'm big spooning to two separate girls at different times in my life.
Yeah.
And where I'll actually punch in the dream and actually like punch the girl.
Nice.
I punched my girlfriend.
Nice.
I didn't mean to, but like that's when I wake up. I'm like, oh shit, and she's like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm sorry.
That'd be the best excuse ever.
Yeah, exactly. I was asleep. I accidentally fucked your sister. Yeah, no. Have you ever? Which ones are you like? All right, this is definitely bullshit. Like, as far as the definitions, you're like, all right, this is some hippie.
I consider everything, but I don't
resonate with everything.
I'm open, right?
Okay.
Like I'm open to things, meaning, well, I'm open to how I feel about them. I try to establish some type of relationship to it, but I don't discredit it right away. But at the same time, I don't indulge in it.
Okay.
Like if something's crazy, usually I'm just kind of like, man, I'm just not really in control of my thoughts right now, or something like that. Sometimes it's just so bizarre that you're like, what the, but the flying dreams are cool. The first song on my album is called Flight, and it's about a long time ago when I used to work in the oil fields. Yeah, and
what was that like?
Oh man, I cleaned sulfur tanks in 130
down in
Bakersfield. Yeah,
Bakersfield?
I would clean these tanks. We had like hydro blasters that would blast like super hot water in these tanks, and we'd wear like these rubber suits, and like these waters, the pressure, it was so pressurized, like it could sever your limbs, like if it got you. And inside the tanks it was about like 130 degrees. Some were more, some were 150, 170. So we'd go in and clean these tanks. There was actually a moment where I was under 18, and one of the jobs I had, I'm not gonna say what the company was because it was illegal.
Right.
So
did you work for Robert Kraft? Is that what you did?
No. But I before I went in the tank, they just tied a rope around my waist, and I collapsed because it was so hot.
Yeah.
I like went out, and then they like pulled me through a hole.
Jesus.
Yes.
Fuck that. Okay.
So that was what that was like.
Man, the patriarchy. See, this is one of those things. God damn it. Did you work with any females out on the field?
In the receptionist office, there were females.
Interesting. God, how good men have it. Fuck you.
Well, no, and she definitely was not complaining. I mean,
right? Yeah. God damn it.
Well,
I'm sorry. I just like pointing that out because a lot of times it's like men have everything good all the time and women are constantly shit on. There's no girl passing out because of the heat and being dragged through a hole under 18. Well, maybe I mean,
I'm sure it exists. Like, there's some badass chicks out there.
Absolutely.
But
stop.
It's,
you know what I mean?
It's not as common as like I had to do it because I had to man up. That was my dad. He was like man up, and you gotta work, You know, he didn't
But
care.
not just in Bakersfield, but everywhere, especially
Yeah,
in the oil,
when
oil
you're
guys.
young, you know,
motherfuckers are losing hands. They're
Oh, yeah.
they're dying
I've
quickly.
signed,
You know,
I've
in their
signed
50s.
my life away on location before.
Right.
You know, it wasn't. It was the most. I think it was probably the most paid. It was like a. I think I was getting paid like. I think it was like 36 an hour or 46 an hour. I forget.
But either way, almost dying. I don't know if 46 an hour is worth
Yeah,
it.
I had to sign my life away on this waiver, and basically like the waiver was if
Holy
you die, we can't retrieve your body, basically, because where I was, like if I fall into these things, like yeah, there's just no getting me out.
It's like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Remember, like that? Did you see the season 2 where like it's all the portal is right there? It's like exactly what that is.
Yeah, because we were on this like the side of this like hilltop, and there was a bunch of they would dig for like oil in these hills.
Right.
And what happens? A common chemical that comes from the ground is H2S.
Okay.
Which is a poisonous gas. It's less dense than air. It kind of holds on the bottom, right?
Okay.
So, but as you're pulling out oil and a bunch of materials, some parts of the hill become unstable because you're pulling out, and so there's like collapses and things like that.
Right.
And there was a guy who died on location 2 weeks before, like
Wow.
working in the same area. So, and H2S gas is a very, very toxic gas that they said like, it can kill you. Like if you breathe some of it in, you're going to die. Your lungs fill up with blood. Like your lungs scab. They get blisters and you bleed to death in your own blood. So.
Fucking right on. Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of that was what I did, you know, and I got fired from that job.
Okay.
Well, actually, not actually.
Well, you're young. What are you supposed to do? Of course you got fired.
After I did the hard shit, like I never used a jackhammer before once, and when I was working for that company that hired me when I was underage,
right?
These like idiots were transporting cement, but they put the wrong chemical mixer into the cement as it was being like delivered, or like I forgot if we were getting it, or I forgot if we were shipping it or getting or receiving it, but you know what ended up happening was they didn't put the right solution in, so it hardened. The whole thing hardened. So when you transfer cement, it has to be clearly liquid because you're gonna dump it. It was completely hardened in this thing, right? So then so they called me on my day off. You know, I'm like 16, 17, or probably 17-ish, somewhere around there. Like, hey, do you want to work like 16-hour shift right now? And I'm like, what's going on? And they told me the situation. I'm like, well, yeah, this is my only job, you know. So I go and they give me a jackhammer and they start just go in this tank, just go at it. No, like zero jackhammer experience, zero safety certification, nothing. I'm like, for the first time using a jackhammer, you know, this is just like what I was, you know.
Right.
This is Bakersfield, you know, at the time.
Right.
This was just normal, right?
Right.
So, but then, you know, after I did all those crazy, like, hard jobs, you know, the oil fields kind of slowed down, and then I went to temp agencies, and then they would ship me out to like cleaning crew, like easy shit. Like they would send me to oil field jobs that were so basic and so easy. And this is when I got fired.
Okay.
So, they were doing like a safety class before we did this. Like wellhead dig out was the job it was called. It was the easiest shit. Like, you know, those little things that look like the Star Wars things go up and down. We basically just go. Just like kind of loosen up the dirt around it and just like make it nice and pretty. It was dumb. It was such an easy job.
Right.
And but we would use jackhammers to do that. It was so easy. We just drive to like hundreds of those things and just like make sure the machines are kind of going properly. So while that would happen, there was a guy who was asking questions like, "Have you guys used a jackhammer?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's just like, "Did you know that if you put a jackhammer to your foot, it'll like, you know, it could dismember your foot?"
Right.
And all I said was, and this got me fired, "Oh, like, wow, no one ever told me that before. I didn't know that." I said that. And because I said that, some guy told the operator, like the person in charge, the supervisor, that I wasn't safe for the job.
Well, technically, I mean, I guess he was right? Because you weren't properly trained, right?
Well, by that time, I was, though. Like,
okay.
So this was, like, a while. Like, I've used jackhammers so many times since then. This, like I said, this was after all my hard, like, the harder oil field jobs. Like, well, I mean, there's way harder ones than the ones I did. But, you know, those are hard compared to these.
Right.
And so, yeah, and I got fired, but that was kind of a good, it was, like, a good point in my life, I hit up one of my buddies who's in a band called Tribe Divine. They're like a reggae rock band that plays in San Francisco. You should check them out. They're really good.
Tribe Divine.
Tribe Divine. They're a really, really amazing band. They do really, really well in the local San Francisco scene. And these guys, we grew up wrestling together. And I hit them up one day. I was like, hey, man, I got fired from my job. Like, you know, think it'd be cool if I could crash on one of your guys' couches, maybe try to find a job out there. You guys are all doing, like, I felt like my music dream was going nowhere. Right. You know, I'm just in the oil fields and Bakersfield, and I have all these dreams. And
were you 18 at this point or so?
I by this time when I got fired, yeah, I was 18.
Okay.
You know, and then I was like, yeah, I'm not really going anywhere.
Right.
And then they're just like, okay, well, you know, come on down. Like, they were so supportive, and they took me in like I was, you know, one of their brothers, and they're my brothers, and to the day I die, you know. So
very cool. So
they're really good friends of mine, and they let me crash on their couch, you know. And then it was crazy because, you know, one day I was, you know, in Bakersfield and in the heat, you know, extreme like heat, and then I go to visit these guys who were like this really cool reggae rock band. They live next to SF State. Everyone's playing beer pong, like. It's just like my mind, you know, and then I'm in San Francisco, and then in 2 days I get a job at Giant Stadium when they won the World Series, and then now I'm in San Francisco in Giant Stadium, and I'm just like, wow, like how did I do this? You know what I mean? So it just kind of...
Well, part of it was going for it, was risk. Part of it was a closed mouth doesn't get fed, you know. Part of it was like,
man.
fuck
you
it,
know, and there's something about, you know, you and me and just individuals who don't feel like just the work environment of just like listening to a boss and getting paid, you know, well, because I could have made money in the oil fields. I could have made money as a truck driver. I could have worked my way up in a lot of other
I think
things.
the word you're looking for is we're immature. No.
Yes, exactly. We are.
But yeah,
you know,
no, I mean it is legit.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if you want to call it a mental illness. I don't know if you
Exactly.
Like, oh, I just want to play guitar and you know, play in front of
Right.
people. What,
I just want to watch TV and jerk off all day and get paid for it.
What is that?
Well, I mean,
what the hell is that? Yeah.
Part of it is I just, you know, I and I've worked in restaurants as well. We actually met at a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, part of it is for me is just like I need something that uses my brain because I'm smart or whatever, although I am, but really it's just very active up there.
Using your brain in a different way.
Yeah,
because
I'm not.
Like there's nothing wrong with like getting a job that you like in any field, and if that's what your passion is, if that's what you want to do. For some reason, my brain chose this, and it resonates with this, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to figure this out because if I don't figure this out, there's something in me that does not feel satisfied, that feels sad, that feels suppressed, you know. And I don't know what that is, man. You know.
My old mentor once was like, because I had. Before I started really trying to do music, I had gone on Craigslist, you know, back in the wild, wild west days of Craigslist, where you could still find hookers and things like that.
Oh, damn.
And I had, I mean, I've been told. It's not like I've ever visited a hooker. No, never.
Word on the street.
I found, you know, I would find like a metal band that was looking for a singer, and I'd go to their house where they were rehearsing, and we wouldn't do anything. We'd meet up a couple of times, or, you know, one time I was a part of a band in Portland for a little bit, or one time I was a part of a band in Santa Cruz for a little bit. But eventually I reached this point where I was like, I'm just frustrated and like nothing's happening and I'm not writing anything. And my friend was like, you know, my mentor at the time was like, okay, so can you stop creating things? Like, if you had to just do a regular job, could you stop creating things? And I was like, well, no. He's like, okay, well then do it and stop complaining. You know what I mean? Like, can you shit or get off the pot type of thing? You know what I mean? Like,
you have to learn how to survive as well as.
Oh, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, sorry. You have to learn how to survive as well as, you know, perfect your craft.
Right.
Create. I mean. You have to learn and develop a professional side. You're not gonna like wake up, get out of bed, and just go on stage. I mean, you can.
Right. But there are also some people. My friend, he lives up in the Seattle area. He adores doing other people. He's a fucking accountant, and has it in his his bones, in his belly, he loves doing accounting, and
That's awesome.
good for him. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, in my bones and my belly is performing. You know what I mean? Is saying foul race jokes. Like, like I just in my bones and my belly is doing this fucking weird shit here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
man, it's fucking awesome.
And so if I don't do something with that, then I don't feel right. Can we take a break?
yeah, sure.
I'm gonna take a break and go pee in the potty, and and we'll be right back. Oh wait, let me stop this.
I'm waking up to write these lines. I'll make this pen right. Every crazy wish I like. The struggle's never over, but it changes for me. And it feels so out of control. That's just my destiny. As it goes, it just flows. As it flooding with fictional desire, so captivating. Will you tempt me for a while? The struggle's never over, but it changes for me. And it feels so out of control. That's just my destiny. Take life as it goes. Change the world, we were not born perfect. It doesn't change where we can go from here. And all I know is how much I truly care for all of this. Stay up, watch the sunrise. Someday I'll balance out my fire. You're all amazing. Will you drink with me tonight? The struggle's never over, but it changes for me. And it feels so out of control. That's just my destiny. As it goes, it just flows. As it
La 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 la. Okay, so obviously now we just listened to one of your tracks. I put it in there. So what's the name of that one again?
That one is called As It Goes.
Okay. Now I was saying that I like that you were putting the electronic with the harder, double bassy type of shit that you can tell like that you do give a fuck, both of you guys. It's only two of you, right?
We very much give a fuck, yes.
Okay, so now what instruments do you play on? So you sing.
I sing and I play the guitar.
Okay, and then he plays drums, he plays synth.
He plays drums. We program the synths ourselves. Yeah, so we're basically playing right now, backing tracks on synth until we find members in the future who care like us about what we're doing. Which that can take time. So we're doing it ourselves.
And you've done this live so far, right?
We've been practicing it live. It's been going really well. We haven't had a show yet with this type of lineup, but we've been working on this material for a very long time,
right.
And a lot of crazy stuff is coming. This song that came out, it's got some edge to it, but it's a little more palatable than some. We're about to get intricate. You just heard Dance Gavin Dance,
right?
And they're just like all over the place. So there a lot of that stuff's come in.
So the one you just played would be like a single, but then there's weirder, deeper shit underneath.
Yes,
and the rest of the
yes.
album.
But yeah, exactly.
Right.
And remember that dream I was telling you about, the with the waves?
Yeah.
Well, there's a song about that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I
Alright.
can send you a picture of there's a picture
Okay.
of that dream actually that
Okay.
I made a artist do. So yeah, we're gonna put it up. Let me,
And then take it off.
let me
Yeah.
show you. Let me show you what it is, just so you have an idea, and so you can.
I'm so technology.
Yeah, right. Here we go. Here we go.
You scroll through all the titty pictures.
Yeah, you know. All the memes.
Right.
Here we go. So there's a picture of it.
Oh, nice.
So that's the.
Did it
dream.
look like that
Yes.
with the dark sky and everything?
Yes.
Very nice. I like that. Yeah, very cool.
So yeah, we can.
Who's the artist that did it? If you want to shout them
yeah,
out. If
actually-
not, if it's like a bad relationship or something.
No. I all my artists that do my artwork, I have very good relationships with them.
Okay.
So her name is Heather. I'd have to look up. Maybe we can plug her Instagram name or something on there. Yeah, I'll plug her Instagram.
Cool.
She has a pretty good amount of followers. She's also like a fitness model too.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, she's really cool. She's very, very professional with her artwork too. She has like a art page. She has a professional, you know, like model page, I believe, or it's her personal. It could be both. I'm not really exactly sure. But she's really, really cool, and she's a really, really talented artist. So, yeah. So she liked the idea. So it's actually for every single one of the songs on the album, there's album artwork for every song.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do is just like support local artists.
Right.
You know, we're all struggling, you know, and there are some artists that are really good that I believe in, and I feel like in the art field, you know, you either have to be like a really weird, pretentious, abstract painter or something.
Sure.
Sorry if I don't get it, you know, my brain just, I wouldn't. Some of it's really cool, and then some of it I'm just like
Oh yeah, this is
a dog could have done this, you know.
yeah.
Like.
My least favorite thing is when, okay, now I'm a hypocrite because when it comes to music, I am
you know?
snobby and
Yeah.
but some things are not subjective. Some things are like
When
with
it comes
comedy,
to
with
art,
music,
it's all
with
like because those guys clearly understand something I don't. I can give them that credit because there seems to be some consensus
Right.
when I'm in that world, which I've been around. You know, I was at Fort Mason, and there's like some huge art exhibit going on.
Right.
And there is some of my stuff I did not get, but clearly there's something to it. My brain doesn't work that way.
yeah.
It could be all. I mean, you know, I will admit that there's some. I could be a little more open-minded and whatever. But yeah, you know, to that same token, some of it was just complete
Some
dog
of it's
shit.
just dog shit.
It's just
man.
fucking shit, dude.
Yeah, and not just that, but I feel like some of us like okay, so the younger I was, the more like even that song that's from 2011, even that like I like it, but there's a bunch of those songs from around that area that I wrote that I listen back now or even 2 years ago, and I listen back and I'm like, what a cornball I was, you know, or like you know, like what a fucking dork, you know, or
Same,
this
dude,
wasn't
same.
this was me being overly dramatic on purpose. So I don't put it past like you know, even young like 18-year-old artists who are like still trying to figure out who they are.
That's when
and
it's
stuff.
the worst. I was the corniest then. I'm so glad I did not make it when I was 18.
Exactly, goddamn.
Oh God, I was a walking.
Okay, but I
was a
could've-
walking cringe fest.
I feel like I could have been a little. I mean, obviously I couldn't because it
More
didn't
props
happen,
to Green
but
Day. Holy
32,
shit.
motherfucker. You know, like I'm late on this motherfucker. Shit,
Well,
but
you're
whatever.
not just a musician
wasn't-
though. You're also
Right.
a podcasting musician. You know, comedian as well.
Right,
So
and
it's
I
like
wasn't
you're-
done cooking.
Exactly. You know,
Now
you're
I'm
doing all
cooking,
all of
but
these
now I'm
things,
done
and I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers, they didn't make it till like 30. I mean, they were pretty well known, but I think it was like I don't know.
I think when they were in the
Around
you
that
heard
time.
their 80s stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they would write records and it would like not do
Wasn't
very
doing
well.
anything. Yeah,
No, I mean,
in fact, they had a compilation CD that I really loved called "What Hits," as if it was like a best of, and it was all stuff like, you know, Get Up and Jump and Behind the Sun, like a bunch of 80s stuff. I really enjoyed that. Real Men Don't Kill Coyotes. A lot of that.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
A lot of that 80s.
I love like
Red Hot Chili Peppers was good. I have hated them since. Similar to, I think there was a couple of songs in Californication that I'm okay with. Everything after that, I mean, stop. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with Green Day. To me,
it's all opinion.
After
it's all
Nimrod.
opinions, for
I'm
sure.
sorry. It's just even American Idiot. Like, oh, all right, and then who else? Who else doesn't make muster to Peter Feliciano's judgmental ass? Well, I mean, I don't know, but suffice it to say, I'm who I am as an artist changes. You know what I mean? Just like you,
same.
just like everyone else.
Yeah.
But we also have to be willing to put in work, and sometimes I feel like when people make it too young, there's that. They get crystallized in whatever they were. They have people all around them who are saying, now since that went well, we need to recreate that over and over and over again. You need to make the exact same Taylor Swift album that was huge. We tried something different. It didn't work. Let's go back to the factory and go back to the formula that already worked and make that again, because we need the money. You already have a shit ton of people who are relying upon you to continue this lifestyle, and that's what happened to MC Hammer. That's what happened to a lot of people. Was just like, all these people are now dependent upon you. It's not just Taylor Swift's album is supporting only Taylor Swift. It's supporting her bodyguards. It's supporting her mother and her cousins and her therapists and her teachers and all these people around her. It's supporting the machinery underneath her. So why? For her to just try something different almost becomes not just difficult because you don't want to personally risk, but almost impossible because you're risking everyone else's livelihood as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into success a lot of people don't consider. Right. I'm nowhere near successful at all, and I'm kind of glad in a way that I get to mature a little bit before you're around all of that pressure, because people don't realize how much pressure there's. People think, oh, this like successful artist, blank space, put whatever art, artist in that space, whatever. People think that person has it easy or whatever, but it's a whole mindset that they've cultivated for many, many years, just painstaking hours and sacrifice, that it's not that easy. Any successful person, it's not easy being anyone successful, and people are like, oh, let's hand it to them. Well, you don't know that.
Right.
You don't know what people had to go through. People just see the product. People look at them as a product. They don't see and they just don't know. Right. So it's easy to say, look at someone on the top and be like, oh yeah, you had it all, Right, but that's a bit naive, I definitely understand that, as someone who's trying to do it myself, it is a lot of work. And if I ever get to that point, which hopefully that happens, that would be great. Success in anything that you really, really enjoy is just like, on top. It's even difficult on the social media angle. Like you were saying, you have a hard time with it. I have a hard time with it too, but not so much the posting like an annoying asshole, because I got that down. It's the fact that they changed up the algorithm so that you have to kind of fit in line with whatever works. You have to. So people who I have 700 fans or so on my Facebook page, they don't see my posts. You actually have to pay Facebook for the people who already are following you to see what you post. Which you need to have money to do. Which you need to have money to get fans who would give you more money. Like it's a fucked up game. So I actually sent a message to Facebook yesterday. Maybe it was because I was quitting smoking at the time. So maybe I probably shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have sent the message. Man. But I just told them I know you're not take
gonna
it out on someone.
You're not gonna change the algorithm because some bald motherfucker said so. But I just hope you feel bad. That's it. I hope whoever's reading this understands you've screwed creators, and I hope you feel bad about it. But keep doing it, whatever. Just understand you're cunts. Just understand you're bad people, and just remember that. And next time you hold your children, just feel bad about it. I didn't get into that detail, but And but then again, it's supposed to be hard. I mean, if you think about it. 20 fucking years ago, less than that. You needed a machine behind you in order to get any success at all as a musician. You needed to perform over and over and over, and hopefully an A&R guy will come to your show, and then maybe even after the A&R guy or guys, eventually someone likes your shit, then maybe they'll sit you down in an office, and maybe from that office meeting you'll have a deal, and maybe from that deal they'll actually, even a small percentage of deals that actually went through, did good shit come from those deals? You know what I mean? So you never know. I mean, the needle for what you needed to pass through, the eye of the needle for what a musician or an artist or a podcast or whatever, comedian needed to fit through was way smaller back then. So now it's wider, but now it's just we're playing a different game. Is it still unfair? Yeah, it's still kind of unfair, but at least we can try to do it on our own. Where it's the groundswell of the fans that create it happen. Like if people supporting this podcast at patreon.com/conservatish, people, me talking about your music and you talking about my podcast and me talking about the Invalids and, all this, we're all supporting and creating for each other and making this thing happen. So it's easier than it was, or it's still difficult, but it's not. I'd rather be here than 30 years ago when it was like playing at a bar and hopefully a fucking A&R guy hears about it through the grapevine and, still fucks us even if they did give us a deal,
It's meant to be hard, that's for sure.
Yes.
It's
if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And,
exactly.
Everybody should be doing that.
And if the mindset was easy to have, then, like if you think like anyone has it easy, like try to just imagine yourself in their perspective, like right now, like if name a famous band and then it's your turn to like fill those shoes, like even for like a week.
Right.
It's just the workload that some of these people have is just so it's very admirable to me. I watch a lot of anyone who's successful in any type of art, whether it's like stand-up comedy, whether it's like actors, musicians. I mean, I've always wanted to learn what it takes to be a professional in something. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have this artistic side. I mean, that's always going to be there. And I've talked to some people who have had thoughts that, like the more serious they get or the more disciplined they get, they kind of lose some of their creative edge. And,
right.
It hasn't been my experience. The tighter I get, as a person, the better my art becomes. It's less sloppy.
Right.
Now, there's some talented people who can just play super strung out and they're just make it. But I mean, those are outliers, like Nirvana, like, geez, like that. That's like, I like Nirvana, but man, I would hear stories about Kurt Cobain and how he would be just so strung out on, on heroin, and like he'd be like, I think it was Dave Grohl or someone in the band was saying how like we don't know how he was even able to like stand sometimes, let alone perform a whole show. And it's just like, I feel for anyone going through that much pain, and I'm not like judging that, but it's kind of crazy, how some people are able to perform under so much. Now, me, I personally don't believe I have that much talent to just to just be like
there are also some people who subscribe to
that must be difficult.
There are some people who subscribe to the idea that, okay, I need this alcohol or these drugs make me more creative. And my hat's off to you, but that's not the way I was. And not just because I was young. But like if I ever drink or use again, I'm not going to like work really hard to get the money together. Like I'm a bad fucking drunk. I'm a bad, I'm panhandling and stealing your shit. And like, I'm a bad motherfucker. That's why I needed to get sober. But there are some musicians who get sober and their music changes. There's some musicians who get sober and it's like,
some people their entire reason to perform was the party lifestyle. And you take that out and they're just like, my music doesn't have any meaning. It's all about how you define yourself. If you define yourself as someone who cannot have fun without like a substance, and your music's going to reflect that. Right. For me, like, I've definitely taken breaks from like drinking or like, smoking or like whatever. I take breaks 'cause sometimes I'm like, you know what? Can I, I have moments where I'm like, can I do this without anything.
Right.
You know, like, could I do this?
Right.
And then you kind of question yourself, like, man, am I doing this for the right reason? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then I made a decision where I didn't want to do something that I needed to do substance to do. And if that was the reason, I'm going to be an artist and I'm just going to stop right now.
Right.
You know, and I did that.
So you wanted to test yourself.
I stopped.
Right.
You know, just
Right.
being an artist, just I mean, you know, as a human, you know, you take breaks from stuff, you know, you realize this isn't working for me, this is whatever, you know.
Right.
And that was just my experience, was just like, okay, like, you know, getting your life together is a good thing.
Mhm.
Like, and you don't need to be this crazy, out of control, like, you know, rock star like all the time. I mean, if that's all that you are, I mean, you know, like there's this quote, I don't know if it was Kurt Cobain, or it was like someone who's like, I'd rather burn out
Then fade away.
Yeah, I'd rather burn out than fade away. It's
Right.
like, I mean, yeah, you can do that,
Right.
you know, or you can.
I just feel like it's a pussy move too, really. I just feel like, oh, I can't, you know, I'm so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it, because I'm an alcoholic, like, I fucking understand. I was the same way and needed to get sober and all that shit, but I don't like, you know, lots of people are in pain. That's not an excuse to just say, fuck it, I'm going to get high for the rest of my life and hurt everyone around me. Like, there are people who are way kinder, like, okay, there are people who went through way worse shit than I did growing up and chose to not be complete cunts who take everything. I was not that way. I was born, in my personal opinion, to I just needed to take things. I just needed to steal and lie and manipulate and get high and get drunk and like live that way. And that's why I needed to change. But like, there are people who didn't go through what I went through, who didn't need to like salve themselves with alcohol and drugs the way I did, you know? So, you know, I kind of look at Kurt Cobain, you know, burning out or whatever, and it's not romantic to me. It feels like
it's
you
not.
just fucking you just wasted your fucking life. You know, good for fucking you. You were just a dramatic drop in the bucket. You know what I mean? Like, you may have created some okay music, and Nirvana was very important, but like, Nirvana is a gateway band. After getting into Nirvana, that opened me up to other shit. But imagine what he would be creating today.
Yeah, it's
And then
sad,
some
you know.
self-centered
and
dog shit to do that.
It is really sad, you know. And of course, it's healthy to see, like, there's some people who have very negative views on Nirvana, and I get it, because
Right.
I feel all those negative emotions too, you
Right.
know. But I still give credit to like the great band that they were. But
Sure.
to reflect on the negative stuff, it's like, man, he had a daughter, you know.
Right.
And it's like, that hits home, like, man, if I had a daughter or something, or like,
And I
so, like,
get it.
and
When
you know,
the voices
yeah,
can't stop, I understand it.
yeah,
but,
that's there is some pain that's just like, you know what, man, like, there's
just
some
need
pain I
relief.
don't understand,
Right.
and you know, who knows what that guy was going through at the end of the day. But I don't know, like, I couldn't, at least there's something in me that like feels, at least now, the person I
Right.
am today, I'm not who Kurt Cobain was in those moments.
Right.
And who knows if he even remembers like half of, you know, his career, man, who
Right.
even knows.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were moments where he just completely forgot and lost himself, and he just
Right.
went so far, there's just no going back. And once you're at that point, it's a lot harder to say you would be who we're saying we would be, you know. It's it's hard to say that, you know. I can't really speak, and like, I'm not going to justify, you know, what he did, because anyone can get out of that. I'm not saying it's always hopeless, but
Right.
you know, we're individuals. Me and you are
Right.
different.
Right.
Kurt Cobain's different. He might not have just been as mentally like strong as someone
Sure,
else who was in
absolutely.
that same situation.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, I don't.
it's one of those things. But in hindsight, right, you can learn from those fallen artists. You know, you can learn and be like, whoa, that's wrong.
Right.
I'm not gonna just slam heroin when I have a kid. I'm not.
I couldn't even. Here's what's weird too. I never
Yeah.
talk about this, and obviously it's a different circumstances. But I couldn't watch Robin Williams movies for like a year afterwards, because I was just like, I don't even want to. Not because like, oh, I'm gonna cry, but I was just fucking mad at him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know him. He wasn't my fucking dad. He was just a guy who did movies. You know, he was a part of my childhood. So who the fuck am I? You know what I mean? I was just a fan. But like, I couldn't like, I just elected to just leave. Like, no, I'm not gonna fucking watch that, because fuck that dude. You know what I mean? For like, isn't that? I know that's
man.
weird. I know that's like selfish a bit, but like,
not really. I feel like everyone's entitled to have their own reaction to very serious topics. You know,
Right.
because having something serious happen in your life, or even if someone you didn't know.
It wasn't
like
my life.
but however he affected your life, so you had your own personal experience, and a lot of times your outrage, your anger is coming from a good place. It's coming rooted from, man, I want to make sure I don't leave people the way he left people.
Right.
And if it's coming from that place, then that anger and that pain is a healthy thing. And, people are like, oh, you should have more respect. It's like, no, you respect the person, but at the same time, right now who you're being right now, hopes you are strong enough to handle such things. Right. And we should all strive to be that resilient. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, it starts with everyday choices, man. I mean, I like what Joe Rogan was like commenting on, Robin Williams. He's saying, well, the only person responsible for what he did was clearly him. Now there were a lot of other factors that attributed to that, but at the end of the day, it's a choice. But like, it's complicated, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's definitely something that it's just sad, and it affects a lot of people. Right. And knowing that in retrospect of how, who we are now, how we feel now, we hope we don't experience such loss and such pain that our future selves can grasp onto reasons to not, commit suicide. And it's just like, because at the end of the day, man, like, who the hell knows what the future holds? You don't know. Mm-hmm. And the bad things can happen to where you're, one point of your life you're on top of the world. The next point you're in the gutter, man, and you just never know.
I guess it's not as simple as me. Like, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I feel just like, okay, both things can be true. Yes. Like, it's not just
exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes there's incredible spiritual value to sharing with someone else and being kind and gentle with yourself, and sometimes there's a spiritual tool in suck it up. Sometimes move forward, ask for help. Like, there's spiritual help in those tools as well. It's not just always be, cover yourself and wrap yourself in a wool blanket. Sometimes it's toughen up. Sometimes it's this and that. But when it comes to the pain and as long as we continue to share from ourselves so that others can feel like I'm not alone, we share from our experience so that other people like, fuck, I know that experience. And also, and then also, telling each other the hard truth when we need to, then I feel like we're doing our job. But, I don't know, it's difficult.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the way I see it, it's like you just have to show compassion for people, right. And whenever people have a hard time or having a hard time, I do my best to be open to them and just show compassion and kindness. And if you can help people, help people. And it's so hard because, sometimes like I read a lot of like books on psychology and stuff. Right. And, sometimes instead of helping people, what people try to do is like, they're like, wow, like, my drinking problem's nothing compared to this alcoholic here. Right. So I'm going to help to satisfy my own ego. Right. And just like, it just makes me feel good that I'm helping him and makes my life feel like it's more justified. And, psychologically, because you're not, because to actually give the person the help they really need would require a lot more than just compassion and kindness. It would be a whole, you might have to house them. You might have to clothe an individual. You might, like, I'm just saying.
You might have to risk telling them the truth and having them get upset with you.
Exactly. And to truly help someone and really mean it is a very difficult thing. And in my experience, at least coming from someone who wasn't ready to accept help when I needed it, like, you have to be like ready to change, because advice, anyone can give advice, anyone can listen to advice, but actually changing your life through advice, that's work. Right. It's not an easy thing. So, you gotta try to show compassion, but it's very difficult to actually help anyone, really.
What was wrestling like when you were a kid?
Wrestling, yes.
When did you start? I don't think I've ever talked to a wrestler. I mean, obviously,
really, 7.
Obviously, I wasn't. Okay, so you were 7 years old.
Yeah.
Did you have wrestlers in your family? Is that where it came from, or you just was
my uncles wrestled. Yes.
Okay. Was it from interest in like NWA, or was it just like only interest in legit wrestling?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there was always that.
Was it WWE status, or was it like
When I was little, I was a shy kid, and
Sure.
and but for some reason, I had friends that wanted to do the toughest sports. Like, and my one of my best friend at the time was a kid named Alex Reed, and he was a wrestler, and he was just like, hey man, like, you should join wrestling, and he's like, it's the hardest sport, and we were kids, and he's just like, I was like, oh, okay. So then I joined wrestling, and my first match was against a girl.
Really?
Yeah.
When you were 7?
7.
Okay, how old was she?
7 probably.
Okay.
We were kids.
Yeah,
we were little. She beat me in like 10 seconds. It was
Sure.
it was ridiculous.
Right.
It was crazy, and I was very terrible. I think my first year, I just got beat up.
Okay.
Just completely annihilated. I didn't win a single match.
Okay.
And then the second year, I think I won like 1 or 2. But the
What
third,
what did you like about it during those failures? Did you still like it?
honestly, I don't know what it was. I think I wanted to quit, but my friend just kept encouraging me. He's like, once you start winning, it'll feel good, And eventually, I got pretty good over the years.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I'd go. It's like there was years where I'd go undefeated completely until state, And then one year I took my freshman year, I took 4th in California.
Wow, very cool.
In San Jose, yeah, a long
Nice.
time ago. So I was really, really in shape at one time, and so yeah, I was. And then I remember going to tournaments, big tournaments, and then being like, oh, I'm going, yeah, I'm gonna win this whole thing, and then I just win the whole tournament.
So what kept you going? Was it legit when you started winning and you were like, oh, this is good? Was it what your friend had told you?
Well, as a kid, I realized that I was very insecure and I was very shy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't want to get picked on by bullies.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was really little, I don't know if just wisdom, or luck, I don't know what it was. I was like, man, if I'm doing the toughest sport, maybe people will think I'm tough and maybe people won't mess with me.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out,
Okay.
People didn't mess with me.
Okay.
Luckily, there were other reasons people didn't mess with me, but that was one of the main ones.
Right.
And you're a kid, you're wrestling, you're representing your school.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very a small town, McFarland, that I was in, and I remember one year I wanted to play basketball because I also played basketball in the school against the best kids, and I was really good at basketball.
Right.
But I think in middle school, I would go to ranked tournaments and win tournaments, and I probably had a rank on my name in the whole state.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
from
wait,
wrestling.
for wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay. So not for basketball.
So at the time, I don't think anyone. At the time, I'm not sure. Maybe in high school, people played state before, but in middle school, I don't think anyone placed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool, coming from a small town, having just friends, but limited resources in terms
Right.
of coaching, and I was doing really well. So I tried out for the basketball team, and then the basketball coach cut me. He's like, "Look, man, you're doing really good basketball, but the school needs you to wrestle." And I was so bummed. That was the end of. I could have been a basketball player too. Who knows?
Sure.
So, but I did wrestling instead, and I'm so glad. And you develop an extreme work ethic. And
Why?
I
Because of the schedule or because of the?
have you ever done any
No.
form of grappling,
No.
jiu-jitsu, wrestling? I did jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts as well later on, but
Okay.
you've never done it?
No.
Have you ever experienced what it's like to go against someone who has
No.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be. There's.
I mean, I keep listening to fucking
There's a
dumb Joe Rogan talk about how wonderful it is, and I'll get there, whatever. But I want to go boxing. I want to knock motherfuckers out. That's what I would like to do. But
Man,
continue.
yeah.
How was?
Let me put it this way.
So it wasn't just the schedule of your dad picking you up at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting you this. It wasn't just the rigidity of that or the structure of that. It was also just the actual.
You're overcoming fear.
Right.
You're imagine this situation.
Right.
You're a kid. You've been cutting weight. You're waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. working out for just to defeat one person, to dominate and completely break someone's will. Right.
Yeah.
Imagine against another school, and girls are going to be watching, right? and It's true. It's
Hell
like
yeah,
it's like
man.
I'm going against this rival school over here.
Right,
And
right.
and I'm gonna beat this guy. His girlfriends are watching. You know.
Did you watch tapes and shit too, or was it like
Sometimes,
Sometimes,
you know,
okay.
it was sometimes, but it was just the thrill of winning, and you know, you develop a
the struggle and
you develop a competitive spirit, and then when you become good at something very difficult,
right?
people respect it, and there's just something that comes with that. And but let me put it this way, man, I've got my ass kicked so many times, and wrestling is very humble. You know, it humbles you to treat people very kind, and martial arts tends to do that as well.
Right.
So you know, it's definitely something that it's given me strength that I carry in my life. I think it comes out in my music as well as my outlook.
Right.
It's changed me as a person.
A self-esteem, a confidence.
And
like
you know
that you've struggled through shit before.
Yeah, when things get tough, I remember like completely dehydrating myself with like plastic bags and sweaters and running on treadmills and for like 30 minutes and like zero sweat coming
At like
off
16.
Yeah, man, and just
Jesus.
completely drained and depleted, and then like wrestling for like 12-hour day, just going through like big tournaments and just like, okay, this guy's the best guy in the, you know, sometimes I've wrestled national champions, you know, like guys who are the best in the whole country. Like I've gone against those guys, and in my prime, there were some good matches with some of them. I mean, there was a guy who won. He was a 3-time national champion in this. I think this was like in freestyle. Probably I was like 13, 14. So like before I went into freshman year, he's like in middle school, like 3-time national champ. He only beat me by like 4 points, and that was like a really good match for me. You know, to get that, to know you're that close. I mean, I almost pinned a state champion.
Okay.
Like one time. So you know, once you're like in that, you're ranked. The matches get pretty good, and like sometimes you're so close to the top, but
it sounds like the ego gets detached from it more. Like, I mean, maybe there are sometimes, but like where the fact that you're talking about, like, rather than, you know, like when I see MMA dudes like beat the fuck out of each other,
wrestling's different,
and then hug each other afterwards. Hey man, good game type of shit. Like that's a detachment of the ego. Where like, I mean, not always. Fucking Colin, you know,
Conor McGregor,
Conor's a shit talking about. He makes it personal.
Yeah,
but you know, often it's
for
not.
the most part. You know, when you're getting your ego gets checked on a daily basis. You know. Okay. I mean, if you go into jiu-jitsu, I mean, I did jiu-jitsu as well, at a couple places in the Bay or here. 10th Planet, I trained out for a little bit, which is like Eddie Bravo trained Joe Rogan, and like that's like their jiu-jitsu thing. I mean, I like that because it's very similar to wrestling in a way because they don't use the gi. So I like that. I trained a little bit at Half Gracie. I was just at a mixed martial arts Bellator event, and you know, you see all these cool things. But like wrestling and jiu-jitsu, it definitely builds your character. I mean, it's like you can't really have the mentality of like, I'm the shit when there's people who are the shit around you, you know? Like, it's like, yeah. And then they just like wreck you. You know what I mean? And then when you've been like, you think you're good, and then you just get completely humiliated in front of people. It does something to you where you're like, you don't know if this person is like this world champion, and this, like, anyone you meet, you start to like, you start to not underestimate anyone. You don't know what kind of training someone has. So you have a respect for, you know, confrontation, but you're also more mellowed and cooled out from, you know, having those really tough experiences. I mean, man, like, just imagine every single week for years you were cutting weight, you were dehydrating, you were working out 2 to 3 times a day to compete at the state level. Right. You know, and these guys are doing the same thing. Right. They're trying to dominate you. Right. And then you have guys on your team like, well, eventually I did wrestle outside of McFarland and like different. I lived in Virginia for a little bit, you know, and I was around some guys, a guy named Duke Pickett, and you know, there were some guys who did well in college, and you know, like, so as decent as I was, you know, decent for the average walking person, I was shit compared to a high school national champion, you know, or an NCAA national. Like, let me tell you how many levels there are to grappling. So like, if you're looking at like I knew a guy who was a national champion in high school, so he was the best in the whole country. Okay. Goes into and then he told me that he went to, like, in the summer, he went to like a nearby college. Okay. Not a ranked college, just a college wrestling. Sure. He says he couldn't take any of them down. the best guy in the country couldn't take down wrestlers at this college.
Right.
Just wrestlers that not the best wrestlers. So from high school to college, the level is so much higher, you know. So then you get into college, right? And then you get the NCAA champions there, and then outside that, there's the like Olympic circuit,
Right.
and like usually the Olympic circuit like destroys these guys, and it's just like my buddy who's a national champion in high school said these guys, it was like hitting a wall, like it was just so impenetrable. It's just. Like I said, there's levels to it. You know what I mean?
And there's probably more of it. And here, what time is it, real quick?
Oh yeah. Let me check. 52.
All right, yeah, we got to start wrapping up. I got to get to work. But how much of the percent? I mean, obviously, a lot of it is hitting a wall, blah blah blah. But it also, more than just self-esteem or I got through it or whatever, is a fight to yourself. Like you just said, the words you said a second ago, where you break someone's will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not necessarily muscle versus muscle.
No.
It's brain versus brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you train your brain over and over through workouts to be like, oh, you want to stop? I'm not going to. You know, like, oh, your brain is like, stop running, cocksucker. And you just keep going. So you find that in a resource. But then you break someone else's inner resource. You know, you help them make the decision that, okay, I'm going to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what is that? Does that help you in music? Does that help you outside of that? I mean, maybe everything.
I mean, it helps your character for sure, right? You know, when you know you have that, you don't need to prove yourself to other people, like in a sense, you know. So, like, at least you don't have this chip on your shoulder that you need to like prove yourself for like status. I'm pretty laid back. I mean, most wrestlers or like fighters are pretty laid back. I mean, I've learned some of those mannerisms from just hanging out, you know, with some. I mean, I've met some world champion, you know, mixed martial artists, and I've met, you know, some really, really interesting people, and you know, that kind of rubs off on you. It rubbed off on me, you know, and it's something that, you know, let me put it this way. There's a difference between meeting a like world championship martial artist and I'm pretty sure like just like a famous musician. Two totally different people, right?
Right.
You know, as musicians, you have to have a certain level of ego to think you're great. You know, most martial artists are cool, but it kind of goes both ways. You also need that ego to help push you forward and believe that you were the best. And,
right.
There's this really cool quote. It's like, you know, you have your, you know, your mind set on the heavens, and you'll know what to do in the day. You know, I like that quote. I forgot where I heard it, but it's just, yeah,
like your head in the clouds, but your feet on the ground. Same.
It's like having high goals and knowing that you're going in that direction. You'll know what to do everyday life. You know, so yeah, it's definitely helped. You know, the way I see things. I think just overcoming any form of adversity, you know, is once you survive it and you're okay, then it's.
Yeah, I'll say this, that's actually what helped me realize I need to quit smoking. Is like I wrote down a list. I made the official announcement that I'm moving to New York in September.
Oh, dude, congratulations!
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And I made before doing so, I made a list of like, okay, what do I want? It's not enough to just have abstract ideas. I have to kind of write it down. I have to make goals. And what is in the way of what I want? One of those is spending $10, $11 a fucking day on something that is ruining my voice, and I'm a singer and a podcaster by trade. So not only does it not help me monetarily because I need the money to move and to have the deposit and work, you know, blah, 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 but it doesn't help me with my fucking voice. Like, it dries out my body. It's bad for my fucking lungs. Like, on every level, is a stupid idea. But more than just judgmentally, what do I want and what am I willing to do to get it? You know, if I make that goal and I have that goal, I want to move, what is in the way of it? It's me and my decisions more than anything. It's not Facebook's algorithms as much as it is Peter. You know what I mean? It's me in the way. And so what can I do to correct that? You know what I mean? To you know, conquer your inner bitch or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to be corny about it,
as
but
Joe Rogan
true.
says, exactly.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why his podcast is number one. So, and,
Right.
But 100%, man. Adversity is a good thing. Once you know, you gotta start small. Once you overcome, you know, it's almost like working out, right? Like, you only get the results of strength once you recover from the stress.
Right.
You know, the stress alone is not enough to grow.
Right.
You need to recover. You need to learn. You need to heal. Healing is a part of strength. It's not.
Right.
It's not all about brute force. You know, you have to actually heal and learn from, whether it's a mistake or just, having a goal and just like actually doing it,
Right. Well, right on, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, man, it's my first podcast.
You
so
did wonderfully, sir.
Hell yeah.
And as the best podcaster in the world, I can tell you that I'm proud of you as a first guest. Where can people find your stuff?
Yeah. Well, right now you can look me up on Instagram. My personal is Arana_Isaac, which is ARANA_Isaac. Just that's it. And then for my band, you can look up The Fearless Art on YouTube. I believe we're also on Spotify, Instagram, just The Fearless Art. You should be able to find us that way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And is so that album, like, I'm going to share that track. This album is already out?
It's not out.
Okay.
We're trying to finish it up right now. Hopefully we can get it done very soon. As soon as possible.
But is that track available if people wanted it?
Yeah. I mean, right now we're on SoundCloud and we're on everything. However, if you want the track, like a downloadable track,
Sure.
Just like, feel free to reach out. We'll try to send you guys links. I mean,
DM him at Instagram.
If you want downloadable links, we'll give you links. Sorry, we're kind of lacking on that.
Titty pictures, same thing goes, girls. You cannot get, you have to send titty pictures in order to get
that or memes. Either one.
Fine. Titty memes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. Is that all you want to plug?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. You can find me at Peter_Feliciano. You can support this podcast and all of my musical endeavors at patreon.com/conservatish. Share this with your friends. Subscribe, you fucks, to the YouTube and the iTunes and all that dog shit. Leave us a review. I love you all very much. And I'll be playing music. I'll be sharing. I'm doing a show with Jefferson Berge, I believe, early in June, and I'll keep you posted about that. It's only going to be open to like 30 people, and then I'm going to be doing my album release party in August, ish, and I'll keep you posted about where. Thank you very much, Isaac, for coming on, and bye, everybody. Cool.